He knew that it was most important in the successful use of this law that at the actual point of falling asleep, his consciousness be filled with the assumption that he was already what he wanted to be. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another Tabbie Talks. For those of you who are new here, I'm Tabbie. For those of you who are not, thank you for coming back. We're continuing on with our Power of Awareness teachings. You know you can find these for free on YouTube, the audiobook, or you can get it from Amazon. Not for free, but you can get it from Amazon. So I always had an intention that I'm going to turn to the page and that page will be what somebody needs to hear. Funny enough, it actually brought me to the same section that I already talked about yesterday, but clearly it needs to continue to be talked about because that's why I'm here to do this. So we did talk about yesterday how, and you should watch that video because I don't really want to go over it all, but basically it's talking about a soldier who's in the army, who does not want to be in the army, doesn't see any foreseeable way to get out of the army except to be honorably discharged. And in order to do that, he has to fill out an application which gets sent to his commanding officer. And the commanding officer is the only person who can say yes. In this particular situation, this soldier, his application to be discharged was denied. It was disapproved. And instead of becoming a prisoner to his circumstances, instead of accepting what was going on in reality and saying, okay, that's a hard stop, the soldier said, nope, I'm going to use the law of assumption, use the power of awareness, and I am going to go to sleep at night in the state in which I want to be. And then after 9 days, the soldier was directed from his commanding officer and to resubmit the application, in which it eventually got approved. But what's funny is at no point did the soldier argue with the commanding officer. At no point did the soldier cry himself to sleep and, think that this was so unfair. At no point did the soldier accept that this initial disapproval was the final word. In fact, he decided, I'm going to use the law of assumption to go to where I want to be. So it says he knew that it was most important in the successful use of this law that at the actual point of falling asleep, his consciousness be filled with the assumption that he was already what he wanted to be. All that he did in imagination was based on the assumption that he was no longer in the army. Night after night, the soldier enacted this drama. Night after night, in imagination, he felt himself honorably discharged, back in his home, seeing all the familiar surroundings and falling asleep in his own bed. This continued for 8 nights. For 8 days, his objective experience continued to be directly opposite to his subjective experience in consciousness each night before going to sleep. And on the 9th day, orders came through from headquarters for the soldier to fill out a new application for his discharge. So what this is really talking about is that you have to understand that your imagination is the most important thing that you can use. It is literally a gift from God, from the universe, from your source, your creator. These gifts were given to you in order for you to use them to create the things that you want. Now, I know that there can be a very, very, very confusing aspect to this in thinking, okay, well, if I'm creating this, how in the world did I do that? Why in the world would I have done this? Blah, 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 blah. And what I have been already saying, and I'm going to continue to say, is that you do not get to determine the actual event. It is your assumptions and beliefs that create the type of thing that takes place. Like, if you were planning for a party and you knew you wanted it a specific theme, you would get things, you would think of things that you could add to this theme, but you would not actually be able to dictate the circumstances that took place at that party. Do you understand? So when you are believing things that are good, like I am whole, I am secure, I am loved, I am abundant, you having those beliefs, that is creating the theme of your life. Your creator, God, source, universe, whatever you want to call it, is the one who's going to fill in all of the details. So maybe that'll look like an unexpected check coming in the mail, or maybe that will look like a long embrace from a loved one, or maybe that will look like you just having the best day ever where everything goes your way and you get free coffee and you get all the green lights and you get the best parking spot, because it is your assumption of who you are and what is true for you that is actually creating what is going to come to reflect that. And I know that that's a very, very deep concept in some ways, but that's how you are creating. You are the one deciding what is true for you, and then it is being created to show up on the outside. Now, something that I also really want to talk about is, because we're talking about the power of awareness, this means what are you aware of is true? What is the inner conversations that you are having like, okay? I know that it can create a fear of what happens when I think negative thoughts, what happens when I feel negatively, what happens when I'm feeling really tired today and I just can't seem to exert the mental effort of, consciously creating, consciously focusing on what it is that I want. That's okay. That is part of, you can look at your outside world and not be really all that happy with the way that things are going, but that doesn't change the beliefs that you have about who you are. And the key is to not identify with those thoughts that are coming up. So like if you are having negative thoughts, if you start to worry, if you start to think, oh my gosh, how am I going to pay these bills, blah, blah, blah. Those thoughts do not mean anything until you say they do. Those thoughts, we have thousands, hundreds, probably hundreds of thousands of thoughts in a day. It's just the same as like if you were to get the random thought of, I need to go buy chocolate milk. Maybe you don't need chocolate milk. Maybe you have chocolate milk in the refrigerator. But the point is that a thought might just come across your head of something random, and that doesn't mean that you need to go out and do it. It's just a thought. We have so many thoughts. We have thoughts about a gajillion things, and so just because you're having a negative thought, just because you get suspicious, just because you're wondering if, oh, I wonder if that person is telling me the truth or not, that does not mean that you have to identify it. All you have to do in that moment is let the thought go. You literally can have the thought go through your head and go, oh, that's not true for me because I'm surrounded by wonderful, honest people, trustworthy people. Nope, that bill does not mean that I'm not abundant because it's going to be paid in full. No, that doesn't mean that just because I'm feeling uncomfortable in what I'm wearing does not mean that I am fat. It does not mean that I am ugly. It does not mean, because I know that I'm not. I know that I'm beautiful. I know that I'm secure. I know that I'm abundant. I know that I'm loved. I know that I'm chosen. I know that I'm valuable. Do you see? So just because you're having a negative thought, just because you happen to get mad about something, if you interact with a boss or you start to feel overwhelmed, you do not have to say, this is true for me. You could be like, nope, everything's going great in my workplace. I'm really happy with the way things have been going. This is just a thought. So do not allow your thoughts to dictate what it is that you believe is true about you. Just like the soldier from this book, he did not allow the fact that he got denied for his application to be released from the army to tell him what was true for him. He did not allow himself to spiral out of control into thinking, oh my gosh, how am I ever going to get out of here? He stuck to what his assumption was. So I'm here to tell you, stick to your assumptions. They are good. They are gold. They are yours. And if you want them bad enough, do not let them go. Fight for your desire by staying true to what it is that you believe about yourself and your life. So I know somebody needed to hear that. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, follow, all of the good things. Anything you can do helps support me to keep this message going. I know you're having a great day, and you don't forget it. Keep shining your light because the world needs it. Take care.